Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailysheeple.com, and this is your news shot. Boy, I was excited when I saw Claire Burnish over at the Free Thought Project. A pen apiece, Snowden smashes the police state in most epic rant ever. Quote, terrorists don't take our rights. The government does. He is absolutely spot on right. You know, I've gave some sobering statistics over the past week about just how hyped up the war on terror is relative to the amount of people that are killed in the war on terror. Now, I'm not talking about people in lands where our country goes and invades their land and kills millions of innocent civilians. That is deplorable. But I'm talking more along the lines of Americans. How many Americans each year die as a result of terrorism? And on the whole, it's extremely small, less than 100 people a year, oftentimes less than 20. So, whistleblower Edward Snowden, Claire writes, does not mince words, and his ardent assessment of our perpetually dwindling rights in the United States and around the world, offered live in a teleconference Tuesday, certainly didn't break the mold. Quote, government will not act in accordance with the public interest unless it's made to. Absolutely right. You know, I've heard here recently a lot of arguments in favor of a single payer healthcare system. You know, I've even thrown it out there as something to consider. And I still think that it's something that we need to consider as long as money's not involved, as long as we transcend and eliminate our reliance on money and somehow figure out a way for humanity to live together in peace, working towards bettering ourselves as human beings instead of kind of working as slaves toward sating the insatiable corporate greed, right? So we know that a lot of this stuff can't happen in the current construct, in the current context. You know, with single payer, California now introduces a bill they say is going to cost $400 billion basically to kick off single payer in California. You know, at some point in time, there's just not money. People are going to be sap clean. You've got AI coming. I'll talk about that in another news shot. That's just going to eliminate a lot of these jobs. And we're going to have this shift. But to think that government's going to solve all the problems is certainly not going to happen. And really, it's up to us to make it happen if it's going to happen. And oftentimes, that means a change, a big change. He writes, you may never be safe in any country. This is Edward Snowden talking. Whether it's Brussels or Russia or Portugal or the United States, to speak a necessary but inconvenient truth. Now, you want to talk about a guy that should have done a inconvenient truth movie. It's certainly not Al Gore. Certainly should be Edward Snowden, right? He says, and Claire writes, terrorists won't be combated by governments nor invasive surveillance. Rather, Snowden argues, such programs have proven more harmful overall. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen to this. For instance, quote, the United Kingdom passed the most extreme surveillance law in the history of the Western world last year, called the Investigatory Powers Bill. The Snoopers Bill, if you will. It authorizes objectively obscene intrusions into the public's ability to communicate, to interact, and to relate to one another, to engage in industry, to trade without interference, so long as they're not doing anything wrong. That's justified, of course, as a means of combating terrorism. And again, all of that to fight a boogeyman with no face and no borders. We, my friends, have ceded our liberties. And let's be frank, we've given them away because we didn't have to stand quietly. And a lot of people out there in alternative media have not been quiet about this. I haven't been quiet about this. But a lot of people have been quiet about this and haven't fought back, haven't made their voices heard, whether it's making a simple phone call to your congressional office, you know, your non-representing representatives, to protesting, to starting a blog, anything to show your dissatisfaction and put yourself on the record. Don't be so scared. Don't worry about the government's going to get you. That they're spying on you and they're going to be here to knock on the door. Does it happen? Yes, it happens. It does. But let me tell you something. Big change doesn't come without sacrifice. And the more people that stand up against it, the less chance that there's going to be pushback that's effective. Because eventually there's just too many people. We overwhelm the system. And Snowden's absolutely right. We give this away. We really do. Quote, I'm not going to go so far to say that this is a sort of an evil plan on behalf of the United Kingdom or any other nation, but we need to focus on one thing. Listen to this. The need for speech, access to free speech, free association, free press, the ability to pick up a phone and be able to dial someone that you love without worrying about what that looks like in government databases somewhere, how that will be reviewed 10 years from now. And when you get on a politician's bad side, he says, this is the foundation of any free society. And he's absolutely right. We have let our government get away with murder because we collectively, and let's go a step further, we have allowed our governments to do this. And why? Because they have guns. We have guns. And I'm not saying that armed revolution is something that should happen. On the contrary, I think anything like that is absolutely and totally barbaric. And this is coming from a veteran. But I'm telling you right now that something has got to change, because we are at a point where we're seeing police bills that are being floated in Congress right now to give immunity to police in certain circumstances when it comes to violating your rights. I mean, this is huge. We're talking about mandatory minimums being reestablished again, and new mandatory minimums if it's found that you maybe resist or do something like that. I mean, they're taking this nuclear. All the while, people buy into the cult of personality. That is Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter who you support. And it doesn't matter if it's a Clinton, if it's a Sanders or whatever. It doesn't matter. Because these people that get there, they get there for a reason. They have their purpose. Believe me, the powers that shouldn't be in Chantilly today, oh, they may not like Donald Trump. They may not like the things that he's done. They may not like the fact that he's pulled out of the Paris Accord. But let me tell you something. They can pull his strings just like anybody else. And everybody out there, has skeletons in their closet, Donald Trump included. And let me tell you something. The powers that shouldn't be, if they want to let him out, they'll let him out. So understand this. We need to step it up. Everybody out there that has been the subject of or is pissed off about what's going on pertaining to rights, this phony war on terror, and it's phony. You're talking about a boogeyman that doesn't exist. Oftentimes the FBI they enable these people in chat rooms and in blogs and in strings. They go out there and they coddle people along and, you need bomb making material? Good, we'll give you some. Hey, you can't get to that point where we'll bring you. We'll drive it there for you. People that would have absolutely no interest and or the resources to be able to pull off any sort of attack whatsoever. And the FBI, time and time again, manufactures the boogeyman to justify getting the money next year, because it's all about, just like congressmen, their whole thing is reelection. You want to get reelected. Well, with bureaucrats and government officials, it's all about getting that funding for the next fiscal year. That's what it's about. And by God, you're going to do everything you can to spend every dime of that you can, so that you get that or more next year. That, my friends, is the truth. And that's what we have to change. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Fire away. Have a great day.